Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Comic Book ASMR. And this time we've got Daredevil. Daredevil? Daredevil. Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. The notorious story by Frank Miller that kind of rewrote Daredevil's origin in a way. So we're going to go through this. And this is more or less what season 1 of Daredevil on Netflix is based on. Well, currently on Disney Plus, but you know what I mean. And this is probably going to be a two-parter. There's Matt Murdock. And we have here writer Frank Miller, penciler John Romita Jr., inker Al Williamson, color set Christy Scheel, letterer Joe Rosen, editor Ralph Macchio, cover artist John Romita Jr., and cover colors Rain Burrito. And there's a little forward here by Ralph Macchio, but we're going to skip that. And here we are, and we cut to a young Matt Murdock sitting in Hell's Kitchen in the summer, just sweating and dreaming about the next day and getting into mischief. And you can see all the apartment complexes here, all the buildings. And of course, he's not blind yet. And he loves being a little scoundrel. He likes getting into trouble. And we see here there's a cop in the neighborhood and the kids have been playing with the fire hydrants. I don't think kids do that anymore, to cool off in the heat. And someone steals his police stick, baton. And it's a young Matt Murdock on a skateboard wearing a ski mask. And the kids cheer him on. And young Matt, he feels his heart racing. He loves it. He loves the adventure. And he runs to his favorite place in the world, the gym, where there's posters of his dad, who's a boxer, battling Jack Murdock. And he goes and hides the baton in an abandoned locker. And meanwhile at home, his dad is just staring at a picture of a lady called Maggie, who he won't tell Matt who that is, but I think we can guess it's probably his mom. And he's just sad, and Matt says, I hope Dad's not sad tonight, but he's sad, and he's looking at the picture and drinking, and Matt comes and gets him and tells him, come on, Dad, let's go to bed. And his dad says, I'm sorry for being a slob. And later on, we see here at the gym, his dad's getting beat up. The mob wants him to join them in their little racketeering hustle. They want him to go around the neighborhoods collecting protection money, and he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to work for the mob. But the mob and this guy who's in charge, called Fixer, threatens both his life and the life of his son. So he caves to protect his boy. And, you see on one hand, he's a boxer and he feels alive when he's in the ring. He feels honorable in the ring, but then his other life as an enforcer for the mafia makes him feel terrible. He wants to feel like a warrior and not a thug. So he's living a dual life, a double life. On the one hand, he's doing something that makes him proud. And on the other hand, he's doing something that makes him feel absolutely rotten and makes him feel like he's being a bad example to his kid, but he needs to keep his kid safe. It's not even about putting food on the table. I mean, they straight out threatened Matt's life if he didn't work for them. And, he tells Matt here, he says, listen, you got to promise me you're going to be nothing like your old man. You're going to study. You need to be special. You need to do it for your mother. And Matt says he'll promise, but he can't study all the time, and he wants to play with the kids, and the kids keep teasing him, and, you know, he gets mad, he wants to fight back, but his dad says, "Don't use your fists. That's what I did, and look where it got me." But one day, Matt gets teased a little too hard, he's had enough, and he comes home bragging to his dad that one of the kids hit him, and he hit him back, and he won the fight, and his dad just lays one on him, just punches the shit out of him right there. Well, just one punch. He lets it slip, and then he immediately regrets it, but Matt's traumatized. And Matt goes and does some soul searching, and he comes to the conclusion, he says to himself, "Dad hit me, that's wrong. But if Dad can be wrong, anyone can be wrong. That's why there need to be rules and laws." And that kind of sets him on the course to becoming a lawyer. He wants to study all the rules and the laws. If anyone can be wrong, then there needs to be some kind of system in place, right, to keep people from doing the wrong thing. So it becomes his obsession, and he doesn't go out to play with the other kids. He spends all day studying, and they tease him, and they call him Daredevil, which sounds like a really sweet name, not much of a tease, but we'll find out later why it's used as a way to mock him. And they bully him, and they beat him up at recess, and he doesn't fight back, and the girls call him a wimp. But in the evenings, he goes to the gym and he lets loose on the punching bag, and that's his release. Whenever he's not studying, he's at the gym. And somebody has been paying attention to Matt Murdock. Somebody waiting for the right time to approach the boy and speak to him, but not quite yet. And the next day, an old man is crossing the street at the wrong time, and a truck with chemicals is coming, and Matt pushes him out of the way, and the chemicals fall off the truck, and Matt goes blind, and he's driven to the hospital. And you see here, he's got bandages on his eyes, and you can see the chemicals seeping through. And he doesn't know where he is, he can't see, and he just wants to die, and he can feel them cutting his face open to try to operate on him. And while he's at the hospital bed, he's visited by his father, but his father doesn't quite understand. But he's visited by another woman, a nun, and the nun understands. And she tells him that he has to keep his powers a secret. See, she knows that he's not just blind. Something more, something special has happened to him. She's the only one that understands, and Matt feels very comforted by her. And he starts visualizing things. By sound, he can tell that she's wearing a gold necklace just by the sound of it. A gold cross, sorry. And he starts to hone his skill. He just sits on the balcony and focuses in on conversations happening down the street or another block away. And meanwhile, inside the apartment, his dad is arguing with the corporation whose truck the chemicals belong to. Wait, I'm sorry. With corporation that the chemicals belong to, that were on the truck. And they say, listen, it's a tragedy what happened, but we're saying it's not our fault. And if you say anything to the press, or you try to take us, or you report us to the police, then we'll tell everyone about your involvement with the fixer, with the mob. So I guess they're involved with the mob too. And so Matt's dad can't do anything, and Matt just kind of has to sit there and hear that going on. And, everyone pities him now, and everyone tries to help him to cross the street, and everyone but this guy. This guy is just waiting. No pity, no mercy. And finally, he goes to the gym where Matt's trying to work out, but he can't. He keeps falling down and crying and saying he can't see. And This guy tells him to get up and stop feeling sorry for himself. And Matt says, who's there? Who are you? And the guy explains that his name is Stick and that he was born blind and no one took it easy on him, and he wants to train Matt. He says, every spare moment that you have, I will train you to be a warrior if you can keep up. And they go here into the gym, and he tells them to feel the air, feel where the walls are. He says one wall's closer than the other, but Matt can't feel anything. So Stick slaps him and he says, do you feel this? And then he slaps him again. And then Matt tries to hit him with his blind stick, his walking stick, blind stick. And Stick hits him in the head with his. But when Stick goes to hit him again, Matt blocks it. And then Matt says, how did I do that? And Stick says, so you're out of kindergarten, don't get cocky. Next thing you know, my camera's out of focus. No, next thing you know, they're training with bows and arrows. And Matt guesses that Stick is carrying a bow just by the sound in the air in the room. He's getting a lot better at seeing while being blind. But Matt says, what are a couple of blind guys going to do with bow and arrow? And Stick says this, and he hits a bullseye immediately. So Matt picks up the arrow. He tries. He doesn't even hit the board. And Stick says, no good. Go again. And Matt keeps going and going and going and going all day till every bone in his body is sore and he feels like he can't do it anymore. And then finally, he hits the board. He hits the board. And he says, oh my God, I did it. I can't believe it. And Stick says, anyone can do it once, do it again. And Matt does it again and he gets a bullseye. And then, kind of like Robin Hood, he splits his original arrow in two and hits the bullseye again. And Matt's dad is happy to see at least that his kid is studying so hard that he's sound asleep every night. Little does he know that Matt's waiting. He's waiting for the hours just before dawn when him and Stick, they go out and they jump. They jump from building to building. They do their parkour, or as Matt likes to call it, their dance. Unseen. Nobody knows where they are, what they can do, their skills, and it makes Matt feel alive. Running through the city at night on the rooftops with Stick. It's his favorite thing to do. It's what he looks forward to every single day. Meanwhile, Matt's dad is training for a boxing match, and he's been doing really good lately, and now he has a shot at the title, Madison Square Garden. He's gotten 5 knockouts in a row, and he's surprised he hasn't had to do any enforcer work for Fixer in a while. But then, that's when the car pulls up, and Fixer's there, and he says, what'd you think? You were actually a good boxer. I set up all those fights so that I could get you in the Madison Square Garden, and you're going to go down in the 4th round, and you're going to make me a lot of money. The usual threats apply, meaning, he's going to kill him and his son if he doesn't do it. But Jack's had enough. You can only beat a man down so much. He's in the ring. He knows he can win. His son's watching him. And he's tired of feeling pathetic, and he's going to make his son proud one last time. He's going to show his son what kind of man he is, and to never give up. And, even his coach here is threatening him, hey, don't forget, go down now, or you know what happens to the boy of yours. And he gets back in the ring. And he just socks the dude. And it's over. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's out. Badland Murdoch wins, and Fixer's not happy about this. Just a second. Let me have a sip of my frappe. Okay. So as soon as he exits the boxing match, the stage, the thugs are waiting there and he knows it. He knows what's coming and he says, I know you're there, just get it over with. And they beat the shit out of him. They beat him to a pulp. They carve his face. And in the end, when Fixer sticks a gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger, it's a mercy. They do a number on him. And that's the end of the first issue. Matt goes to the morgue to identify his father's body. But his body's not as cold as what's growing inside of Matt. And Matt knows who they are. He knows their names. He knows their scent. He knows everything about them. And now he's going after the first two who are drunk, walking down an alley, and they hear a tap. And Matt says, drink up, boys. It'll help with the pain. And these dudes are like, what the hell? This guy's dead. So they go, they follow him in the alley. And they get beat up really bad. I'm kind of surprised Matt doesn't kill them. And they say that it was Murdoch. It was Jack Murdoch. We killed him, but he came back somehow. Skip to the big bully. Slade, the guy who was beating his father the most. And then Marcello, who was carving his face and laughing. And Matt just turns off the lights in the gym, and now they're as blind as he is. And before you know it, Slade trips over Marcello's dead body. And the lights go back on. And Matt's just in the middle of the gym. And Slade gets in, and Matt even tosses the bat, says, here, come on, let's go. So that it's a fair fight. And Matt's just standing there in front of this guy and just remembers every time he was bullied, every recess he took a beating, every time he wanted to let loose and wasn't allowed. And he just snaps this dude's leg in two, just right in the kneecap. And then comes the real beating. The guy's down. Matt puts a roll of quarters in his fist and just beats him to death. But he's not done. Now he's gonna kick his ribs till every bone in his body's broken. And Fixer sees this, and Matt hears him run away, but Matt says, it's okay, there's time. First, he's gonna finish up with Slade. He's not done. He's on a murderous path of revenge, and Fixer's running away. And finally, Matt goes after him, and he can hear Fixer's wheeze and his weak lungs, his weak heart, and his cough, and the sound of his car, and he's easy to follow. So Matt follows him on the rooftops and jumps on top of the car. And inside, he thinks to himself that Stick would hate this. Stick would be mad at him. And he cares about that for a second, but then he just turns back into this walking revenge. And he smashes the car with the baseball bat. And they crash. Matt falls off the car and onto the pavement, and Fixer runs into the subway station. Matt slowly runs after him. But when he catches up to him, he can hear Fixer's heart's not doing so well. Fixer's scared to death, and he just has a heart attack and dies. Matt doesn't even need to touch him. And there's one left. the driver, I think, or I don't know. There's one guy left, anyways. One guy who was responsible for the death of his dad, and that guy goes to this ladies' or gentlemen's club, I guess, where he feels safe because he's known there, and the ladies are comforting him, but Matt's there, and just grabs him from behind. But what he's not expecting is the women freak out, and they say, "Hey, what's going on here? Is this a raid? But we're all paid up." And they're like, "No, this is no raid." And they all start attacking they start attacking Matt, and he's just getting scratched by nails and pounded by women's fists, and in all the mayhem he pushes a girl, and she falls out a window, and she falls to her death. And Matt freaks out. He says, "What have I done? Oh my God. What did I do? No, 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 no." And he goes back to the gym to find Stick, but Stick is nowhere to be found, and he just keeps calling Stick's name. Stick, Stick, Stick. But Stick's not there. Stick is having a conversation about a block away. He's having a conversation with another man in the dark about their secret order. You see, they wanted to train Matt for an upcoming war against mystic arts or something like that. And there were two chosen ones that they were looking at, Elektra and Matt. And Elektra has already kind of gone to the dark side, they say. Matt deserves a second chance, says this man over here, who's talking to Stick. But Stick says, no, he disappointed us. He let me down. He failed. He's too emotional. He's a liability. But this guy tells him we need all the help we can get. You have to give him another chance. But Stick insists, and he says, the boy has failed. He's useless to us. And he wants to protect the integrity of their order, whatever that is. Cut here to Foggy Nelson, who's running away from bullies who are in a car. And I think they hit him or they run him over or something like that. And he is Matt's roommate, and they are in college now, freshmen. And Matt helps him out, and Foggy tells him it was, what's this guy's name again? Let me just see here. It was Brad. Yeah, the bully's name is Brad, the guy driving the car. And Foggy's like, I didn't do anything to him. And Matt says, bullies don't need a reason. I'm sure you didn't do anything at all. So Foggy's kind of terrified of this guy, and the guy threatens him in class the next day. He's like, hey, fat boy, be careful walking back to your dorm tonight. There's no telling what could happen. And Matt hears this, and Matt's not having it. And the next day, Brad is, I think, tied up behind the bleachers in the snow. And he's thinking about how Matt took him from his bed like a rag doll, just picked him up with ease, dangled him by his ankles over the ledge of a building, and left him here in the snow. And he's a changed man, or at least a man who's been taught a lesson. And the next day he walks up to Foggy, and he says, hey, excuse me, Nelson, can I have a word with you? And Foggy says, sure, Brad, what's up? And Brad says, I just want you to know I'm really sorry. I've been writing you so hard. I've been a real jerk. You're okay in my book, Foggy. Let me know if you ever need anything. And everyone's like, what's going on with Brad? What the hell? And Matt's quite pleased with himself. And Foggy says, wow, you should have seen his face. And Matt says, I really wish I could have. And some girl goes to hit on Matt and says, can you help me with my studies? But Matt knows she doesn't need help with her studies, and he doesn't have time to get attached. He's not going to get emotional. That's a mistake that he's learned from Stick to never repeat. So he just tells her he can't. He has class. And, well, he's in his dorm with Foggy. Foggy falls asleep and starts snoring, and Matt can't go to sleep. And at first he kind of blames the snoring, but then he's like, it's not the snoring. It's all the sounds outside. I want to be outside, running in the wind, with the leaves. In the night, he smells the people. He hears all the radios from taxis and dogs barking and howling, and he can't contain himself. He goes out to join in the fun, and he's running around the way he used to with stick, just bouncing from building to building. But then he smells a scent. There's a woman up there, and he hears her breathing, and she's running too, and she jumps off the building. He says, "What's going on?" He jumps after her. But then she's gone until she lets him hear her again, a soft chuckle. She's running for the park. Matt runs after her, and he's so distracted, he goes to jump over a car, accidentally hits it with his foot and falls down. And when he gets to the park, he's looking for her. When he can hear screaming, and all of a sudden she's left a trail of her clothing. There are her shoes, and then her pants, and then something else. And the cops arrive, and they say, "There he is, don't you move, creep." They think he's the one who's caused trouble, but Matt's learned his lesson. He's not going to break the rules. He's not going to beat up the cops. He's not going to run away from the cops. And he remembers what happened when he broke the rules and the woman that fell to her death. So he just gives up. And meanwhile, the woman he's been chasing is loving this. And she gets dressed again. And the cops say, "Oh, this guy's blind. The hell's he doing here? Go home." So the next day, Matt and Foggy are outside their college. And all of a sudden, a car pulls up. And it's the woman, and she's just sitting there in the front seat, in the driver's seat, in a convertible with the top down while it's snowing in the middle of a winter storm or whatever. And Matt just hops in immediately, and they drive off, and they're driving so fast. And Matt says he can't remember the last time he actually felt a little scared, and he loves it, and he knows he shouldn't be enjoying himself this much. But he is, he can't help it. And the car screeches all the way to a halt at the end of a cliff, and the woman just jumps off and says, "Matt Murdock, we're close to the edge, one step from the end." And she tells him, "This is where we belong, always on the brink. The rest lead safe, numb lives, but you, when I saw you on the rooftops, I knew we're two of a kind, drawn to the edge and past it." And she just jumps off the cliff. And Matt remembers the girl that fell to her death. And I think he whispers no or something. And that's the end of part 2, and that's all we have time for. I was gonna go for another issue, but I didn't expect it to actually take this long. But we're halfway there, so that's the first half of The Man Without Fear, part 1 of 2. And we'll continue the rest hopefully tomorrow or the day after, but I'll get to it sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye-bye.